This is a different, this is a different animal down here. You guys are all having a good time?
With a nice hockey player flow going on.
I know, yeah. It's not a mullet though, so I have some length
yeah.
in the front, so you gotta be very careful. Yeah, it's my Canadian hockey hair.
Well, as we look in season 2,
Yeah.
how are you and your brother's relationship going to be in season 2?
That's a great question. I have no idea. No, I'm like really anxious to find out how all these things develop, right? Much in the kind of way our experience was in season 1, is it was unfolding for us as well as it went along. Each time we got a new script, we were like, oh, okay, hey, I'm still alive, that's awesome. And it's a surprise for us as we're moving along. But I don't know, I'm really looking forward to exploring that a little further to see kind of, if there's more conflict between us, or if we have some sort of resolution and start working together a little better. Because as we left it at the end of season 1, I'm not sure where Peter lies, right? Like, if that betrayal has a longer game to it, or what, and I have no idea. So I'm jonesing to find out about that for sure.
So are you in production now?
We start August 11th, I believe we go to camera. Yeah, so we're in Montreal August 4th, and we start, they've been doing pre-production work for a couple of months now, but we fold into that August 4th. Yeah. So a couple of weeks now. Yeah, jonesing to get going now.
How is the time in the makeup chair and like being a vector? How's that?
It's a little meditative after a while, yeah, because there were a couple of states last year. There was when I was sick, and then when after what I called the 20 vectors 1 cup scene, I become kind of super vector, king vector kind of thing. That was about a 3-hour process to get in. And then about an hour and a half to get out of it, with like 4 people working with mineral oils on me. But I liked it, it's just to kind of relax a bit. And that team of makeup artists, they're a bunch of awesome people, so we became friends, and it was a nice time to just spend with some pretty awesome artists. Yeah, can't complain.
As you said that you guys didn't really know what was going on until you got the next script.
Yeah.
So, as a process and as an actor, is that like fun for you, or is it a little bit daunting?
It's a bit of both. I mean, in my process, I like to know a lot about where my character's being. I don't really need to know too much where I'm going, so that it can remain kind of fresh. But at the same time, I have to know where kind of to fit into the story. That's okay. So finding balance between that's good. But in this one, more than any other project I've worked on, it's a little more faith that things are going to unfold for me. And it's very in the moment, and it is a little daunting, right? Because there were a couple of times when we'd be shooting in like episode 13, and a scene would come up, and I'm like, oh, okay, so how does that? And then, okay, that lines up with the way I played. It's a little new information that informs my past a bit that I didn't know about. But the writers are tight enough that it all lined up, which is great. So I learned to trust that.
And do you have any input in your character?
Yeah, we do. Steve, who's over there, Steve Maid, our showrunner, he's really open. That writer's room down in LA, they're very open to our input. To a point, like they're the writers. And I really think it's important that the actor is sort of the king of the character, right? Like I know Peter more than anybody else would, and that's my job. But where Peter fits into the grand scheme of things, that's the writer's job, And finding that balance between the two, where I can help them inform the character, only to that point. And then then I'm going to be getting in the way if I start thinking I'm a writer on this. And I think roles are very, very important in a collaborative process, to know them and to know what our limits are. But they've been really open to any input I've had and a dialogue about it. Yeah, so it's been great.
What was your favorite sort of twist of season 1? Or surprise?
My favorite surprise of season 1, I think, was the immortality. That twist for me, it just kind of jumped it up to another level, and the stakes are completely different now, right? Like we go from something being, even though the potential of the virus spreading is global. Now we start talking about something beyond just any kind of global implication. It becomes a lot bigger, it becomes a lot more interesting, and all of a sudden all the possibilities are huge. So that was my favorite twist in terms of the broad storylines. The most surprising twist to me was Peter's betrayal. Like, I only learned about that when I was reading episode 13. You know, I was like, oh, okay. And that's one of the points I was talking about where I'm like, oh, okay, so everything I've been doing, you know, and seeing how that all fit into that reality. And that's where it freaked me out a bit when I was like, oh my God, because I didn't know that, but it all lined up perfectly in terms of, like, it meshed with what I felt about my character, you know, so, and that was sort of my favorite little personal twist with my character. The immortality is pretty cool.
So do you think they purposefully don't tell you stuff before cons so you don't accidentally spill the beans?
That's a good idea, because we're not a reliable lot. No, I think they're. Well, I think that's part of it, right? Because that's kind of the gold in this medium, right? You kind of blow the secret; it ruins it for everyone. But also, I think they kind of set down some broad strokes, and like they did last year in talking with a lot of the writers and Steve, they played off what we were bringing to it as well, you know, so they left it loose enough to be able to kind of follow storylines that emerged in the shooting of each episode. And I think that's a process that really lends to that collaborative kind of element and allows a dialogue between the actors and the other creative, and really makes it a team effort. So I think it's a bit of both. I think it's a bit of like kind of holding it close just to be sure, but also to kind of keep it fresh for everyone and allow it to breathe.
Can you give an example of one of those collaborative moments, like something you know someone brought that wasn't there originally?
Well, I know that Peter wasn't supposed to necessarily survive, you know, and that was something. And where we ended up going with him, they just found some interesting material that grew out of the relationship between Alan and Peter, and they start seeing it oh, okay, this is something we can explore a little further, you know. So that's one definitely that grew out of it. Doreen, you know, I don't think they were expecting people to kind of love her as much as they did, so that was kind of a surprise to them. And she was born to die, you know. That character was definitely, you know, from the get-go. Steve has said this, that Doreen was born to die. She was going to be the heartbreaker, and they didn't expect people to love her as much. Do you know what I mean? And so Kat Lemieux had brought a different kind of humanity to that character and a different humor to that character than they had expected, and they kind of ran with that. I think it broke people's hearts a little more, but it was one of those collaborative kind of efforts that Kat brought something to the role that they had not envisioned.
Is there a little bit of Peter in your personality?
I think there is. I think there has to be a little bit of whatever character I'm playing or within me, because that's all I've got, you know, that and my imagination. But I think if I can hang a character and keep it as close to parts of me as possible, then I have a really strong base to build that guy from. And then we apply our imagination to it, right? Because I'm not that interesting, you know. But as a template, as a starting point for sure, you know, and try to find those parts. And depending on the role, like last year, there are parts of Peter that, you know, maybe are a part of me that are a liability in my personal life that I can sort of explore through this character in a safe environment. You know, use my powers for good, not evil. Something like that. Yeah.
Now, I know you don't know, but what would your interpretation be on where you think the love triangle between Julia, Peter, and Alan is going to take us in season 2?
I have absolutely no idea. I don't know, man. I really don't know. I can tell you what I hope. I mean, I hope that we explore that a bit, and I hope that it causes a significant amount of conflict and makes things difficult. That's what I hope, because I just find that's interesting. And knowing kind of how Helix goes, we don't seem to get the easy resolution to any situation. So I'm kind of hoping it really gets a little ugly, you know. That's why I hope. I might be sick. So.
Are you a younger brother in your family?
I am. Yeah. I'm the youngest in my family. It's an interesting question because immediately Billy's in my relationship just took on that character right away of older younger brother, like immediately. Yeah, it was really neat. And which is a liability when you're strapped down to a gurney. So between takes, it was he was being an older brother between takes, which is awesome. Fingers in the ribs, and yeah, good times. Yeah. But it really, it's I really enjoyed exploring that. He's a really sensitive guy, Billy, you know. So and he's really available. Just to go into that, there's a couple of scenes in episode 4, I think it was, where Peter comes out of the coma a bit. We have these little scenes, which I watch them every once in a while, and I really love those scenes because they're really honest between Billy and myself, you know. And I think that reads, and that's a kind of good. It's really indicative of the relationship that Billy and I have, you know. Like I really feel he's there for me. And he's he's a mentor in a way. He's a really inspirational guy, you know. So it's really easy to actually look up to him because he's one of the best guys I know, and I've only known him about a year, right? And he's a really stand-up guy, hard worker, and he's humble. He's super humble. He's professional. He loves what he does. He loves people. And so it's kind of an honor, and it's really easy to look up to that guy. So I'm kind of blessed in that realm.
I knew I liked it because I'm the youngest in my family too. So you got something.
There you go. Right on there. We survived.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you. That was awesome, guys. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, we're